proof of innocence. The courtiers of King Krishnadev Raya's court were jealous of Tenali Raman's popularity. They plotted against him all the time. One day, a jealous courtier told the king that he had some important information to give him. "Yes, tell me what it is." The king encouraged the courtier. "Your Majesty," the courtier continued, "I have heard that Tenali Raman has turned corrupt. In the past few weeks, he's accumulated a lot of wealth by taking bribes from people. He threatens everyone with dire consequences, so no one dares to complain against him." The king spoke up in anger. "Tenali? Corrupt? Dishonest? A bully? No, I can't believe you." The king knew that the courtier was trying to poison his mind against Tenali, so he paid no heed to him. However, the courtier insisted, and he repeated the same story before the king for several weeks. After some days, the king wondered if there was some truth in his story. "If he is speaking the truth, then I would be unjust to the people of my kingdom. I mustn't show favors to Tenali and must inquire about it," the king said. Next day, when Tenali arrived at the royal court, the king asked him, "Tenali, I have received several complaints against you in the past few weeks. You've been asking people for bribes and threatening them not to complain. How can you be so dishonest?" Tenali was shocked to listen to such false accusations against him. He tried to convince the king. "Your Majesty, I can't believe that you've been convinced by such reports. You know that I'd rather die than be unjust or a liar." But the king said, "I insist that you provide me with proof of your innocence and honesty. If you can't do so, then you will have to resign from your position in the royal court." Tenali felt insulted and hurt. He left the royal court silently. Next day, as the royal court session was about to begin, Tenali's servant entered. With teary eyes, he handed over a letter to one of the ministers. The minister read the letter and cried. All the courtiers were curious to know the contents of the letter. The minister gave the letter to the king. The king read the letter aloud. It said, "Your Majesty, I humbly bow to you. I have served the royal court for many years now. I am very sad to know that you have no faith in me, even after such a long association. After such humiliating accusations, I can't prove my honesty in any other way but by ending my life. Here's my last goodbye. I pray to God for your Majesty's long life and Vijayanagar's prosperity." The king and all the courtiers also started shedding tears after reading the letter. One of Tenali's supporters stood up and said, "Your Majesty, Tenali Raman was a learned scholar and a great wit. We were wrong to treat him this way. No one in this world can ever take his place." "Yes, you are absolutely right," the king agreed. "Now that he is not there, we must all observe a moment of silence in his memory." After a moment's silence, a courtier with tears in his eyes started praising Tenali Raman. Soon, all courtiers had words of admiration for him. A while later, a man dressed ordinarily, with a beard, got up and said, "Long live the king! Today, not only you, but even the jealous courtiers are praising me. Your words are the proof of my innocence and honesty. What more do I need to convince you of my integrity?" Saying this, the man took off his beard and simple clothes. There stood Tenali Raman. The courtiers who had instigated the king turned pale with shock and fear. On the other hand, His admirers and the king were overjoyed to see Tenali Raman hale, hearty, and alive. The king's face brightened up. He laughed loudly and said, "Tenali, no one can defeat you in wit and intelligence. You've proved that you're innocent and honest. You had it announced by your detractors who don't like you. You are great." The king looked around and saw that all the jealous courtiers had hung their heads in shame.